Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Wargaming.net League North America. I am Andre Greator Pangcho, joined alongside Randall Rukilholcomb. Randall, a lot of great matches for today.
I know. Really solid play from Roulette in our last match. I'm looking forward to Simp versus Noble, though.
Yeah, definitely so. This is the marquee matchup that we were talking about in the pre-show and, of course, throughout the show here and there. Two teams that undoubtedly are some of the best teams, I would say, in the league right now. Simp, of course, the constant contenders, all the way up on top. They've gotten multiple seconds and a first place already in the WGL finals. And we have Noble, who's come off of a 2-0 victory so far in the league. They were able to beat Roulette, who we just saw, who played very, very well, and Fun Gaming, who also took a win today. They're up to 2-1 as well. So, I mean, two 2-0 teams that are basically bashing heads together. It's going to be really, really exciting.
You know, this one actually reminds me of something. Do you remember when Wreak Havoc played, was it Fulcrum Gaming at the time? This was Season 2? This is a long time ago. This is a big throwback. This may be asking a bit too much.
Okay.
This was the only match in regular season that Fulcrum/Fnatic would ever drop. The only loss they would ever see.
It was not Wreak Havoc.
It was not Wreak Havoc?
It was Bear Huggers.
No way.
Yes.
It was
Bear Huggers on Abby.
No, it was Wreak Havoc. It was the only match loss.
Oh,
Bear
the
Huggers,
match loss.
Match
oh,
loss.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that. This is a few seasons ago. So
You're right. It was Wreak Havoc. It was Wreak Havoc.
Okay, so I want to equate that situation of it's early in the season. These teams are learning a new format, or they're learning something new. They're still learning. They're still growing. And there's a team that they're going up against, which I think they're going to underestimate. And if there's any night like tonight, I think this is the one time in the season where Simp could lose, early in the season. Late in the season, I don't think Simp will ever lose. I think they will win every match they have, except here is the chance. Here's the largest probability.
Defining moment, you're saying.
Yes.
It's pretty early. Noble Gaming, when I was watching them, they looked very, 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 very solid. And with Simp, I remember their match against Elevate, and we saw some mistakes in that series, I would say. On Runeberg, I mean, they defended places that almost over-defended the Delta Village, and then a lot of screen caps happened on the north. A lot of very interesting play coming out from Simp, and maybe they don't have this particular format just honed down and skilled down, but we definitely know that they'll be practicing to learn it and do it very well. We want to remind you guys real quick to keep in the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/WGLNA, twitter.com/WGLNA, and don't forget to tweet us who your favorite team is and why.
And don't forget who is going to distinguish themselves tonight. What team will be doing that? Who's going to step ahead of the pack? You've seen 3 matches already, but now tell us your guesses for those matches that are off stream. You know, some of you guys have teams you're rooting for there, and don't forget about the Simp Noble. Just tell us who you think is going to win. That's a good time for it.
Yeah, even with Fun Gaming, I mean, like, a lot of people were not counting on them to really take it home today, and they did. Even in the brawl at the very, very end, very audacious play. But that's a team that I'm actually going to be looking forward to as we progress on in the season.
All right. Well, it sounds like our face-off is ready. Let's go ahead and see it. I want to see Simp, and I want to see Noble.
What do we have?
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. It is Laps. Laps and Zombie Food, my 2 favorite people. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's
seeing
up?
you guys again.
Back.
Laps, I know I can't hear you, but I just wanted to let you know that I think you're a fantastic person.
Oh,
okay.
That's very nice. Laps, were you able to hear that?
Just a little bit.
Oh,
okay.
It's good.
So,
It's good to see you back announcing, though. I'm very excited about that. And maybe I get another piggyback or shoulder ride.
Anytime. They're free of charge, Laps. Free of charge. Actually, Zombie Food said you're a fantastic human being.
Oh, thank you. It was
I have to
a
agree
pleasure
with
to
that.
meet Zombie Food when we were down there for Media Week. I had a good time.
yeah. Well, both of you guys are back here. We're into our 2nd week of play, and I think you both are some of the top-rated teams in the league right now. Simp, of course, and then Noble has performed very, very well. Let's start actually with Noble before we hit you up, Laps.
All right.
Zombie, what is it that you guys are doing? What are you doing that is making you guys so solid? Because I'm watching your battles, and it looks good. It looks coordinated.
Zombie Food, how have you made me root for you guys instead of my favorite person in the world, Laps?
I believe we've always had this potential. Anfield did help recruiting. We've also stepped up in the response to the calling. A lot of the players this time are making much quicker, snappier decisions when I make calls or whoever's leading the battle makes the call. And it's been going very well for us. Also Warpack. Warpack's very nice.
Are you admitting to using mods on our
I'm just
broadcast?
kidding.
I have to throw that one out there.
No, you guys have definitely looked very clean. It's been
Thank you.
very concise. And honestly, you've made me a really, really big fan. I'm hoping for the best for you guys. Now, moving over to Laps. Laps, I mean, I love your team too, but come on, you guys have been around in the top for so long. There needs to be another Titan to come in. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
You know, we certainly felt like we bested our previous competition. I'm personally very excited. I have always been a fan of Googly Bobbers. I mean, Noble now. I'm a bit sad to see Spoon gone, but these guys are really showing some control, and it's really nice that the teams that had the skills in the past, I mean, you could see had those tanking skills, those brawling skills, those control skills. They're getting rewarded because, matter of fact, interaction is rewarded in this format, and it's just enjoyable to watch them and play it.
Okay, so I'm going to go to stereotypes right now. Laps, last week, you guys were defending. SIMP is known to defend very well, and you guys even lost one of your defendings. How did it happen? What happened? What have you done to kind of deal with that?
You know, you're going after your opponents with a noose, and you're trying to hang them. It's a matter of control and finesse to get it around their neck. And occasionally, you slip yourself into it instead. That was just... We were trying, and there was effort in there, as everyone could see. But, you know, occasionally you slip, and then you lose your footing, and you're hanging yourself.
I know. You showed us SIMP is once more mortal, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see this upcoming match. Gentlemen, do you have any words for each other?
I wish SIMP the best of luck, and I hope we have great fights.
I echo those sentiments. I hope that we really have a good time on this one. I'm really interested to see what happens when we're forced to interact.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys on the battlefield. They're so nice, both of them.
They
Man.
really are.
I've definitely very, very much so missed all the pro players over here. I mean, they were such a joy to meet in person. If you guys haven't done that already, March 15th, mark it on your calendars. It's going to be the finals in San Francisco. Make sure you get over there. You're going to be with some of the best tankers in the world, and you get to really see their personality and see how they are in real life.
And also the Folsom Street Foundry is a pretty cool place. I mean, they've got artwork on the walls from video games kind of hidden around the place. It's little
That's meta right there.
Easter egg kind of deals.
That is
on.
Easter egg stuff.
It's nice.
That's really cool. Our map is going to be Prokhorovka, by the way. Not Prokhorovka. Steps.
Oh,
Excuse
Steps?
me.
Oh.
It is going to be Steps. Sorry, I made you.
You made me write my notes wrong. Shame.
Steps. You know, one of those maps that we saw in the past 742 be very, very aggressive, very fast-paced, and now I feel like it has an identity crisis. Now I feel like I shouldn't say it should be fast.
No.
The battles were fast, but leading up to the battles weren't always the fastest. Now I feel like it should turn into the more sniping game where it's a lot more deliberate, a lot slower, and the defending team should really take a much, much heavier lineup than ordinarily.
Okay, but you say an identity crisis.
Yeah.
So it's trying to just figure out.
Well, I think a lot of these teams are bringing these light tanks that are just not well equipped for capturing a flag or killing their opponents. These light tanks ordinarily need to have a lot more time to deal with the heavier lineups. And when you have one major brawl, how are you going to re-enter, right? That's not easy.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, looks like the countdown has begun for battle number 1, which is going to be between Noble and SIMP on Steps. As I look at the tanks, I'm seeing something interesting. We'll start, and I'll begin dissecting that with the lineup from Noble. T-32, Pershing, RU-251, that's 2 of them, a T-54 lightweight, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. That's Noble, they're defending first, which I think is an interesting way to start this battle as well. On the attacking side, SIMP will have brought a 5916, 2 RU-251s, 2 1390s, a T-69, and a Pershing. So We talked about heavier lineups earlier for attackers, and Simp is bringing. Is this heavy enough?
It might be. I don't know. I'm just like throwing a dart and hoping it hits its target, right? I really don't know how heavy you have to bring it. And honestly, a lot of the heaviness, or how heavy it should be, relies on how heavy the defenders are. Right now we have a T-32, which is, you know, the heavy tank. And what was it again? It was a Pershing, medium tank. And the rest are lights. I mean, that's a decently heavy tank. You have a good mix. And I do like the Pershing, obviously, because it's a little bit more mobile. You can keep up getting into position a lot better. We saw the T-32s being played by, what was the team? Oh, I think it was Elevate, being played by Elevate. They were a little bit slower to get into the battles. And Pershings will kind of deal with that pretty accurately.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree. Also, I think Adroxus and a T-69 is a nice complement to Simp's Pershing. You know, it's not quite as heavy as Noble's lineup for their heavier tanks, but the Pershing brings the mobility, which they certainly need on when they're attacking. With that, the hold-down capability is nice. T-69 is not better at all, really, in hold-down. In fact, its armor is kind of sketchy sometimes.
It can bounce, but, I mean, a lot of times you can pen a T-69 with gold rounds.
Precisely. The armor's not really there. But you still get mobility and the burst.
Yes.
The T-69, 4 shells in the drum, good 9, what is it? 240, 4 shots there.
Yep.
Yeah.
800 to 900 damage, I would say.
And with variance in shell damage, you can get up to 1,000.
It's not going to be too good against the T-32 or the Pershing with the heat, of course. Yeah. It's meant to be a cleanup, right? Kill the 1390s, kill the RU-251s, and kill the lightweights.
That's fair enough. Also, unfortunately for Adroxus, I always feel bad for T-69s because most of them fire heat. And when you fire heat with 250 millimeters of pen,
it's going to fizzle, man.
It fizzles a lot. Your shells are going to just hit tracks or hit any spaced armor whatsoever or hit a sharp angle, and it's not going to go well.
A very, very, I would say, gosh, it's very far away from each other. That Noble is just trying to get a super big concave. They have the actually a Bulldog and 251 all the way down on the southeast side, and we have conversion near the flag cap of the north. This is a tricky situation, I think, for both teams. They really don't know how to engage each other.
I really like that movement from Simp. And did any of them even get spotted? I want to see Smiley. I don't think was in a position to. That's a smart move. They have just gotten themselves into the north after taking a middle route, which otherwise I wouldn't have thought would work. I think Simp has done their homework on steps today. I'm impressed. This was something outside of the range of which I expected them to do. Not that I thought they wouldn't do something so clever, but that exact move was very new to me as far as it being a 5-6 tank motion.
Yeah. The one thing, though, I do have to be critical on is they've already elapsed half of their time. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. So they have to get moving because, you know, realistically, you only have, okay, let's be very, very liberal and say 30 seconds or 40 seconds to cap. So of that 40 seconds, you now need 2 minutes and 20 seconds to get into a position where you can get 3 tanks on cap and do that. Or you can kill everybody, but with light tanks on a map like Steps, it's going to be a little bit difficult to kill every single tank.
And don't forget, with the extended cap time, you're not even 30 seconds. You have to go even longer than that.
Yeah.
Because 120-second cap time, you can get...
it's 40 seconds.
Yeah.
That's right. Mac G almost goes down there. Now taking a little bit damage from the side. It looks like that Walker Bulldog being able to put in spots. Wow, this is a great concave. If you just look at the minimap, a lot of blue just swarming, but now
here we go.
It's the push onto the top lane, and will this T-32 be able to back up in time? It's a lot of hit points, but it's not going to be enough hit points for 4 different tanks.
Yep, and Simp will take out the heaviest tank on Noble just to start this fight off. That's going to be Enfield and the T-32. Now they get the advantage of numbers, and they're going to begin pushing in that concave you're talking about.
Yeah, really, really nice. The question is, was Noble a little bit too spread out? We're going to find out very, very soon, as a lot of their tanks still have a lot of hit points, but the tank advantage goes in favor of Simp.
Certainly does, and at this point, the momentum is just building in favor of Simp. Noble is very split apart. They lose their T-54 lightweight. Now they've got Zombie and Major Issues together. Dangsta has finally joined them, but I don't see a situation in which Simp is going to lose a lot of this momentum. Major Issues is about to go down. They've got Zombie still up, but he should go down shortly. 1390 still have shells enough for this, and that'll leave Dangsta.
Very, very swarmy feeling coming out from Simp. They're able to constantly just force their opponents to change targets multiple times and just one shot, and down goes the tank. Even that T-32 that has a lot of hit points died pretty fast. And as I said, the question was, did Noble spread out too much? And I think the answer is very quite so, yes.
Yeah, I think you hit on that one early enough in the match. You said, look at this lineup, look at the spread, and my eyes drifted towards the mini-map then.
Yeah.
And I saw it. It was like there's a weak point anywhere they push. Unless, of course, they decide to go across the middle of the field or something and do something absurd. But Simp, being a very good team, decides the northern approach. And they choose to go for that T-32 first. The big, heavy, well-armored tank that would have been more annoying once these guys were all damaged. And also is a consistent fire tank, which, if allowed to go unmolested, is just going to
I mean, if they just stop there, that's perfect situation for Simp, right? They just kill the T-32. They say, okay, we killed your main constant fire damage dealer. There still is that Pershing, but still, it's a big win. But instead, they kept going because they noticed, wow, everybody's so far out, and my moving shots are going to be a lot better than the moving shots from a tank that's all the way down on the other side of steps.
Precisely, yeah.
So it was just very clean execution. Simp really read the situation great. And if we go into actually the detailed reports yet again, we can just see that reverberated over here. The RU-251s, I was not like a super believer of this tank going into it because I was like, okay, I still like the 1390 better. On this map, I can understand because the depression elevation is a lot better. But man, have they proved themselves so well.
It's just such a flexible, versatile tank.
Yeah.
That's it. It has HE shells, which are highly effective, about 100 millimeters, a little bit more than that. But with the way shell variance is, I'm just going to leave it at 100 millimeters of penetration because it can go way higher, way lower because HE.
Yeah.
And then heat shells, which are also super effective. And then they have AP shells, which is just, it can do what it needs to do at any time.
Definitely. And against a lot of the French tanks, the 1390s, and also the other light tanks, it's very easy to pen them with even just 100 pen. So some really cool stuff. We came from battle number 1. Let's step into battle number 2. Of course, it's going to be the same map with the same attacker defender.
Yep. Noble on the defense, blue side, is going to bring a T-32, a Pershing, 3 RU-251s, a T-54 lightweight, and a T-37. So not a huge difference here. Other side, Simp, looks like much of the same. That Pershing T-69 combo, those two 1390s for burst, RU-251s with abrasive and fedge for good damage dealing and probably top performance I'd expect, and then a 5916 driven by Mac. I actually got a chance to kind of talk to him. I'll say talk. It was a little bit less calm than talk. Whenever I always poke fun at Mac. I'm always like, Mac, what are you going to play now that you can't play a Tier 1, buddy? He's like, I'll be playing a Tier 6.
Every time.
I was like, thanks, Mac. Thank you for rising to
the occasion.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just kind of poke fun at him and see what happens.
Again, we're seeing this very spread out form from Noble, and they're really liking this. I guess they just want to wait until there's a big convergence. They're trying to see exactly where their opponent are entering, but at some point I really feel like it's too much, and they're also trying to basically feed the T-32 and the Pershing. They're trying to say, hey, let's keep, seeing what's going on, keep scouting around, but, it's a very dangerous game to be playing.
Yeah. And on Noble's side, the danger is real. They've sent Dangsta and Major Issues out alone on a flank, and I'm confused by Noble,
Is Baronish down that much, by the way?
Baronish is, he's down to 374 hit points.
Yeah,
that is not a glitch on your screen.
Yeah, I mean, well, still the reason why I asked that is because the hit points are very similar, but it's because of that T-32 and the Pershing over the, what is it? Just the Pershing and the T-69. So
yeah,
it's that hit point discrepancy right there.
A little bit, just a little bit. Pershing is, it's 100 less hit points than a T-32, Then you've got the T69, you know, a little bit less hit points than that. Kind of just adds up and throws off those numbers a little bit. I think it ends up mattering later once the fights start.
Yeah.
Although it is nice for SIMP because when it comes to the fight, they're going to have a slightly more favorable engagement with Baronish being as low as he is.
You can see how Noble has actually changed the T32 positioning and put it in more of a centric role rather than putting it in one of the outskirts, just so that it can't be isolated. And of course, because it moves so slow, it can never be able to kite any of these very, very fast light tanks. There was a commitment to the north side, but it looks like SIMP is going to rearrange. 4 minutes left on the clock, so they do have a lot more time than last game. But Zombie Food, wow, he is pushing up very, very fast. And will the Pershing see this? Brodus.
This is super aggressive. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is really, really crazy.
And now Danksta. Danksta
Wow.
is about to walk into the just herd of SIMP tanks who are... He's dead. Yeah.
Not looking good.
He is dead.
Down he goes. Very unfortunate situation. I love the rotation of SIMP. They're showing great mobility in this attacking.
And now Zombie. Zombie is on fire. I don't know what Noble is doing today. This right here is... I can see them maybe trying to push up somewhere, but this isn't focused. This is very split apart.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to be jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like they're trying to get the perfect concave, and they're like, oh, well, how do we get the perfect concave? Let's take the entire map, just split the map in half, and just slowly march upon. And when you do that, you just don't have any real strength. Every single spot is a place that can be isolated. Now Zombie Food down 239 hit points, just one more shot and he will go down. And there he does. Fetch will get the cleaning blow.
Okay, so I think this is just me theorizing here. I think what Noble was going for is they were trying to time the swings of SIMP. They wanted to chase everything up.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's the only thing it can make sense with, because now that we are getting to the fight, Enfield is being focused down first, that big T-32 being taken out again, but they do lose Blue Boys for that.
Yep.
Not a huge loss, I think. The hit points are going way in favor of SIMP right now. It is kind of a firing line. Major Issues goes down. Now Smiley should be the next focus. That T-54 lightweight is relatively well armored for a light tank, but in this situation he's not going to be able to bounce all that many shells.
That's correct. I mean, it's 5 on 3 at this point. The damage is just too strong for any light or medium tanks. And it's just light tanks here, so they just shred like butter.
Oh, there's a little bit of fight left in him. Noble's still putting up some scrappiness. But here it is. SIMP is able to bring it home.
Oh, but now it's the Mac Attack, baby.
Oh, Mac Attack?
Mac Attack coming in, 59-16.
He's got to farm his damage, you know?
Look, he destroyed the last tank.
Okay.
It's the Mac Attack. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings SIMP up to a 2-0 advantage. Some really nice aggression coming out of them, but really capitalizing on the mistakes of Noble. Now, Noble, as you said, they're trying to catch their opponents, like just being mobile, right? Yeah. They're trying to catch them on the run, and then slowly they just take it more and more position, but they got caught out. Similar to Callus was caught out back on Prokhorovka in match number 1.
You're right. I do remember that. Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of to explain the situation, because nothing else quite made sense when I thought about why is Noble doing what they're doing. What is going through their heads? What are they trying to accomplish?
Well, if you think about it also, SIMP was so clever in taking in the north side. They might have been spotted. We're not sure, but they might have been spotted going past the train tracks. And then from there, all that needs to happen is they sit there, and then Noble says, okay, let's just take the map, and that's it, right? And that makes perfect sense of how far they're pushing up. They're not expecting that many tanks there. So Zombie Food aggressing up, maybe there's 2-3 tanks and then 4 tanks up on the train tracks. It wasn't the case, unfortunately, because all 7 tanks were right there, and they got completely obliterated. But the thought process, the cerebral thinking in this match is there.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they did not have.
Didn't work out.
They didn't have the vision, the scouting. They needed that. That's what they needed. They needed to get that information and then work off that. But I think they were trying to piece things together based off what little they had, which, as you can see in this situation, there's risk, because your opponent may not do what you think they're doing. And, well, of course, you're throwing your tanks into focus fires. You're just throwing them away.
Definitely so. We're going to get into battle number 3. It's going to be switched, so the defenders become the aggressors, and the aggressors become the defenders. Let's get into them.
Pershing, 3 RU-251s, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. That's Noble. They're now the attackers, the red team. And you can see how they've changed their lineup for it. On the other side, Simp will be ringing a T-32, Pershing, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37. You can also note how they changed their lineup on.
Become much heavier. And, of course, the defensive team from last have become much lighter. They need to close the distance as fast as possible. So bringing a T-32, for an example, might not be the best. That's why I actually agree with the Pershings over the T-32s if you're going to be the aggressors, because you need that extra chassis.
That extra horsepower to weight ratio.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're going for, yeah.
Yes.
But you maintain much of the firepower.
Yeah, definitely so. And the hold down.
Ah, yes. Well, almost. The T-32 is that much harder, but the Pershing's still mostly
pretty good.
Mostly sufficient.
I mean, what can really pen a Pershing and hold down?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. The top of the turret on a Pershing, if I can go jump to one. Whoop, here we go. Zombie food. Zombie food. The top of the turret, right above the gun mantlet. By the way, the gun mantlet on a tank is the large piece of metal that goes around the gun. So that big piece of metal between the gun and the rest of the turret right there, that's what's called a gun mantlet for anyone who may be newer to tanks. Right above that, and to the side, the armor is a little thinner. And so with gold rounds, you have a decent chance of penning, whereas on a T-32, that same spot is much thicker and wheel-bound shells.
Gotcha.
So the Pershing is known as a good hold-down tank, but I have to point that out as the difference, because we have to put the T-32 that step above.
It's a higher class of hold down.
Exactly.
That's what it really comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I completely agree. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Very interesting lineup, execution that we see coming out from Noble, and I really like it. Partitioning their tanks a lot, but I think they might be in a little bit of trouble here, as it looks like there is going to be convergence from SIP. No, they're going to back off from now. 2 light tanks pushing back at 251 and 1390 being played by Blue Boys Captain Heavy 20. They're just going to catch the other flank. Meanwhile, Abrasive and Fedge are going to come up the side. 2 very nice shots on the Walker Bulldogs.
Yeah, Danksta and Crisis are both down by 1 shell. Spreading that out, I think, allows for maybe a follow-up. 2 good shells, 3 good shells will finish them once they start the fight, making it easier to focus on them, move on to something else.
They need to just sit, though. They need their other 3 tanks to be there to really put the aggression on their opponents and then swarm them. It's a very similar situation. Here we go. Looks like Smiley, Major Issue, and Baronish are coming in from the side. Meanwhile, Zombie Food, Danksta, the rest of them are just pushing down the center. We're going to see how well Simp is going to deal with this aggression.
Well, Simp is going to have a slight disadvantage at the beginning because they will be lacking 2 of the RU-251s. The damage is being dealt, although Brodus and Androxus have gone down. In exchange, they have lost Baronish and Smiley. So 2 for 2 right now. Hit points are certainly going into the favor of Simp. In the response, Danksta goes down next. Now we have Major Issues backing off, but the Pershings are trapped, and they don't have an advantageous hold down to go forward with this.
Yeah, and because of that, the 251 needs to push forward. Even the T-37 being played by Mac G, he's getting some good damage on the side. But when it comes down to it, it's 2 versus 4 right now with a complete swarm. The 251 is going to go down, and now Anfield, the last M26 Pershing, he's not going to be able to clean up 4 tanks. I don't even think he can clear up 1 tank at this point, just because of his position. He's just way out in the open, now being tracked. And really, when you look at that, that's another situation where I feel like Simp knows how to swarm their opponents better. We saw the isolation be, you get into position, you fire at the tanks, and then they sat there. And you need to constantly be moving to make it harder for your opponents to just isolate on single targets and condense their damage into single targets. And that's something that I felt like Noble did not accomplish. And Simp, when we saw our first battle, it was very, very clear. Now watch this. They're going to enter and try to isolate these tanks up here. And I understand they're trying to make it so that it's hard for Fej and the other Abrasive to move on in. But when they just sit there, they make it very easy targets for the rest of the Simp team to kill their particular targets.
Yes, and I think they didn't have enough advantage going in. They tried to accomplish something which usually there's a little bit of a back and forth before that kind of an engagement where you just go sweep around to the west of the hills there and then try to go up and over. Usually there's a little more damage dealt, and I think that Simp was too healthy was too well positioned and actually had enough of the actual advantage.
They actually had the advantage because the M41 Bulldogs, they got shot each right before that happened. So a very unfortunate situation. But I like the thought process of splitting up, really understanding where their opponents are, making it seem like all 7 tanks are going to be in that position, and then coming in with a flank and isolating tanks. In theory, that worked out perfect. They were able to isolate 5 of the tanks of the 7. But I mean, as soon as Fej and Adroxis were able to join the battle, it was just very, very easy.
Maybe someone should have gone out and kind of held off the 2 RUs. Someone should have been there to get their attention and keep them out of the fight longer. That could have done it.
Just pepper the sides, right? Say, hey, calm down a little bit. Maybe even get some track shots. That would have been great, and just slow down the process. But as it stands, that's a 3-0 advantage for SIMP. Let's step into battle number 4.
All right, 2 Pershings, 3 RU-251s, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs, and that is Noble, the red team. They are attacking for the 2nd time. On the defense, SIMP, the blue team, will have a T-32, a Pershing, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and that T-37. Yet again, I really think the T-37 is the best Tier 6 light tank in the league. It's the best for this format.
Yeah, I mean, it's constantly penning everything, and it's able to do very fast fire, consistent fire, and get out of trouble as soon as it's under attack. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
The 5916 that MacG has brought before, I think, is only for capping. It's only to be a low-profile tank that's hard to spot on.
It is super, super tiny. It's like the WZ series.
It's a part of.
Is it? Yeah, it's part of it. Right?
It's it leads into it, but it's unfortunately not called a WZ. Which is, that's part of the naming scheme.
But I believe the 5916, it doesn't have enough, like, I know it's not used anymore, but it has enough DPM to actually kill a T-71, I believe.
Oh,
one-on-one.
Yeah. The little autoloader it has is pretty good.
Yeah.
And
but of course, we never see T-71s. Rip.
Yeah.
Rip in peace.
I know we did see one in qualifiers. It didn't work very well.
Sad face.
Yeah.
Remember the days. In your T-50-2. Oh my gosh.
God.
Oh my gosh.
I miss that tank. I wish it were here right now.
It's okay, kid.
It would be beautiful.
One day.
If they just,
just for you.
If they just moved it up a tier. If only. But the old days of the tier 5 lights are gone. Now we've got tier 6, tier 7, tier 8 light tanks.
Kind of similar approach that we have from Noble, and they really need a win here. Unfortunately, the Walker Bulldog again gets hit. Dangsta over there on the side. A single shell, and we do have HP advantage in for the blue team SIMP, as they already had naturally with that T-32.
But a little bit more is all they need, Makes it more and more difficult. MacG is, I think, in a very strong position. Looking at him right now, I'll jump right over. MacG, this is what I think allowed SIMP last time to defend from Noble's attack. And that's his good spotting. He was up in this position, getting solid vision. Adroxis was a little bit more distracted with other things. MacG's position allowed them to react just in time and made it so the initial shots from Noble were received better.
Looks like Noble is going to break off from this. I mean, fool me once, right? So they just say, okay, this engagement probably won't work. We're going to back off, and major issue is going to, looks like, move around and rotate to the east side. Actually, everybody's probably going to rotate to the east side.
It's a weird move because I'm looking at the RU-251s of Noble, and if you'll notice, they're always moving together. Always, 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 always.
Do you like that or you don't like that?
I do. It's like just a little RU-251 hit squad.
Yeah, it's meant to pack a punch and then just get out, right? See, I think it's like, I don't know if I love it or not. I feel like it should be a 251 and something else.
Like a 1390?
Yeah.
That would be a good combo.
Just because, like, you can for sure win 2v2s with a 1390 and the RU-251. But if it's RU-251 times 2 versus 1390 and 251, I feel like the 251s will have a very tough time. Anyway, here's the initiation. Dangsta, with the lowest HP right now, is going to be leading the charge. Very tough. Fedge going to take a little bit of damage here, Abrasive as well, and there are multiple crossfires coming out from, looks like 3 different angles from Simp. Dangsta down, minus 426. He's 1 shot away from dying, but ducks behind cover.
And this is a nice position, actually. They are allowing Dangsta to get a little damage out. Smiley is in the high ground, has enough gun depression to perhaps finish off Fedge, but Fedge is able to live. And there, Pershing's up and over at an appropriate time, gonna block out Brodus. Dangsta may come back in, and Smiley is still alive.
Wow, this is actually great positioning from Noble. They're able to keep a lot of their tanks alive. As you said, the Pershings stopping that one Pershing in its tracks, and it probably will go down. There it is, Smiley able to get, or no, Crystal.
And then Crisis moves in, gets Blue Boys. This is working out beautifully for Noble.
Yeah.
This is it. This is all that needed to happen. Simp did not respond well enough individually. They saw opponents, they played corner games automatically, and the coverage. Noble, this is a well-constructed situation, a well-constructed
Oh my
lineup.
gosh, and look at how low all the red tanks are. This is brilliant. Not a single tank went down. This is the type of Noble gaming that we were expecting here. They played this so well. They got the 1390 Heavy 20 to actually be sniping the whole time. And we've talked about this multiple times. 1390s should be swarming, not sniping. They're not good at long range. The reticle blooms up way too big. And compared to the 251, they don't aim nearly as well either.
Yeah, it's a good play. This is what Noble needed to do the whole time. I don't know what took them so long. What took them so long is the real question, but good job on that. That's a place where we can see Noble come back into this and really make this a series. Simp, though, has been playing so dominantly, so strong. I don't know if one battle is going to throw them off enough.
Man, I love the patience from those 2 Pershings. I mean, they sat there, they waited, they said, we're going to snipe a little bit and wait until there's that flank, because inevitably there's always that flank that comes in. They had, look at this, there's 4 tanks on the bottom, 1 behind the rock. They just have everything locked down. Nothing is coming down that angle. If you add another tank there by Simp, it doesn't help at all. So they're saying, okay, well, where will tanks help? It's exactly where this Pershing is approaching, and they immediately went after it as soon as he opened his face.
Exactly. Now, didn't even go as perfectly as it could for Noble. Simp did a good job. Fedge stayed alive a little longer than he should have. Blue Boys did a good job at focusing on Smiley to try and get him out, recognizing that is a crucial position. Everything was well constructed here for Noble. I liked it, and Simp made the mistake of allowing them to get set up here.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Simp allowed this to happen.
I mean, you said Fedge stayed alive a little bit longer than he was supposed to. I would say all of Noble Gaming stayed alive a little bit longer than they were supposed to. Yeah. That's the Battle Buddy system. That's understanding how your HP of the team pool works and maintaining your DPM. That's just great tanking altogether. Great tactics, great teamwork, great communication.
Yeah, and that was the kind of play that I saw the other day. The kind of play I was expecting them to bring every single battle, and that kind of competitive just strategy, lineup, just everything looking like it should from Noble. That was the only battle, though, this series that I've seen something like that has really impressed me. Or, sorry, everything they're doing is kind of impressing me because I haven't expected this level of performance, and now it's coming up to that, and Noble's kind of rising to meet. Simp is so at this higher level, this huge, extraordinary expectation, you know?
Yeah.
They're doing that so well. Simp, they're always playing exceptional. There's nothing that impresses me from them. But they are losing a battle to Noble, who are playing rather well now, hopefully.
No, I think they're definitely top competitors. We do want to remind you guys this is our last match, but it's not the last match that happens tonight. There's more unbroadcast matches and an update. 3-1 Cunningham's over Simple Tankers. So they're taking the lead very early. We'll keep you guys up to date as it moves on. And nevertheless, we're going to get into battle number 5 today in match number 4. It is Simp versus Noble Gaming. Let's get into the game.
All right. Looking at the tanks, 2 T-32s, Pershing, RU-251, another one, 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. That is Noble, and they're attacking this time. So T-32s, look at that, the heavier lineup. Simp with a T-32, a single Pershing, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37. So hit points right now going in favor of the attacker, Noble, which I think is a smart move, because on Prohorovka, you don't need the mobility as much with these T-32s. They can get around the map just fine. They'll do their job exceptionally well. And with that, Noble's even bringing a Pershing, which that can be the mobile tank.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say when you bring these heavy tanks is you pretty much tell everybody what your game plan is. Let's sit in bowls. Let's do some hold down fights, and let's hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they want to have happen. So I want to focus on how does Simp go about kind of sidestepping that type of play. They want it to end as fast as possible. They don't want to get in these sniping wars. Or if they do, they want it to be burst sniping, and then they hide for a little bit, and then burst sniping, and they hide. And just repeat and rinse and repeat.
Fair enough. Well, they kind of do sidestep a little bit. They see their opponents line up. They get a little early scouting, and they decide to step on over the tracks. And make this an east versus west fight as opposed to a north-south one, which they would be at a disadvantage. More T-32s and a Pershing versus your single T-32, your single Pershing. That north-south fight isn't going to work. You're going to lose. Simp will outflank you, and they will... Sorry, Noble will outflank you. And they will be able to make that crossfire easier.
And I think Noble, what they're going to try to do is get center control eventually with their heavier lineup. Slowly move up, get tanks all the way in the north side, get some crossfires, and try to go for that hold down, a little bit of hold down position. Have their T-32s tank all the damage. They're going to be the big tanks, while the damage is being dealt by those light tanks, the RU-251s, the 1390, etc. And then they can back up from there, hopefully get some good trades, and then win out the overall battle. But it is still very, very difficult because what's their win condition at this point? It's really to kill their opponents. It's not really to cap. They can't cap too well.
Well, Noble can put pressure on the cap, at least force something.
Yeah.
And what we've seen before, which is generally a good strat, is that you'll put cap pressure on, you'll reinforce the north, and you will reinforce the mid. And what you'll do in the middle of the map is... Let's see if anybody is near that. Sovereign Zul and Enfield are kind of close to the area. They're slightly west of the position usually taken up. But generally somewhere around the middle, watching that choke, watching that mid position, and waiting for your opponent to come over. Looks like they won't do that instead, so I'm not expecting any kind of cap pressure yet.
Yeah.
Because of the blind spots that allow for Simp to defend the cap without worrying about those T-32s in the middle.
Crisis is just moving up, trying to see exactly the positioning of everybody, trying to proxy scout. I don't know if he was able to see Abrasive or not, but definitely MacG. It's just a standoff right now. 4 minutes left in the battle, so we still don't have any aggression coming out from Noble, and they do need to do something about this because they're very close to match point. It's up 3-1. If they lose another, I mean, it's not looking too good.
Yeah, chances are you're not going to have a comeback where you win that many straight battles and tie it up after your opponent gets their fourth win.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't happen, or it shouldn't happen.
Definitely so. And I think Simp knows this, and they're more than happy to just sit and say, all right, if you guys aren't going to start cap anytime soon, even if they start cap, I mean, the Pershing, the T-32, they can just step over and say, oh, okay, we're going to snipe you from here. That's fine. So if they don't do something, Simp is just going to say, okay, let the time go. That's fine.
Yeah, MacG's not the kind of captain to allow himself to forget that fact.
Yes.
He's not the kind of guy who will, just because you can get the win by kills, doesn't mean he's going to go for it.
I mean,
especially when he can let the timer happen, let the timer win the battle, and not worry about the risk in that kind of an engagement, because there's so much more risk involved when you begin these kinds of fights in the new format. Stuff is crazy.
That's why I love this, because normally our resources are HP, DPM, and now time is going to be a much more important resource than previous in 742s. I mean, you know, in 742s you just draw. Okay, draw, no big deal. But now we really have to start moving on things. That's why we see the cap started right now.
Yeah, and I think Simp has predicted this move. Look at the way they are clustered around the middle. It makes me think that they were waiting for this, that they were waiting for this kind of an engagement.
Yeah.
But there are parts of it that say they weren't. That is heavy 20s position, Blue Boys not having crossed the tracks, maybe. I'm not sure. I think Simp was waiting on the time, and they're playing the reactive control game.
Honestly, I like how Noble has been playing this out. It's exactly what we were talking about before. T32's getting into this position where they can hold down and absorb a lot of shots, and hopefully, that there's whoa! Actually, how did Blue Boy's captain get out here? It's 251.
This is absolutely crazy. I've been watching it for a second. Smiley is firing at him, but hasn't made a single connection yet. And this is while Sovereign Zul and Enfield are trying to do stuff in the middle. This is the press. SIMP comes up and overmatch onto Sovereign Zul and Enfield. Focus down those two tanks. First, Sovereign Zul. Next, they move on to Enfield. We're going to see someone blitz past this to stop the cap. I think that will be Blue Boys shortly with 43 seconds left. They have plenty of time. There goes Enfield. Now Zombie Food.
Oh, that was very, very quick. And you can see that they just move over into that bull, expecting the overcommitment. Smiley and Major Issues are trying to get them while they're actually pressing on. But as soon as they move over into that bull, it's pretty much impossible to get shots and help the T-32s, or the Pershing and the T-32 rather. And now it's just a situation where it's a brawl with less tanks, and normally that doesn't work out for the team with less tanks.
Yes, and certainly there are low hit points on a number of members of SIMP, but with 37 seconds left, that's going to do it. That should be enough time for SIMP to clean it up. Major Issues is not far away. And Heavy 20 looks to be loaded. That's going to be SIMP with a very clean defense.
Definitely so. Man, SIMP, even though Noble looked so good last game, SIMP just looks better and better and better every single season. And I said, you know, I'm trying to put a little, make them mortal, right? Make them obtainable. But time and time again, SIMP has shown us that they have the dedication and they have just the overall skill to stay at the very, very top, which is something so hard to do, Rookhill. I mean, I know you've been at the top of things. It's hard to stay there.
Yeah, it really is. You find yourselves usually up and down. You know, you make some roster changes, but that's what it is, roster. They've kept the same real roster for a long time. Numerous seasons at this point with only minor additions, because somebody has to leave for some other life stuff. The core of this team has been the same since I left. Blue Boys is there. You've got Fedge. You've got Mac. All there. 3 players that I played with long before becoming a commentator. And everyone is still there. That matters. That same energy, that same style, the same feel.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps them going. That's what makes them really potent.
And I do want to give a special award to Blue Boy's captain, by the way, because his runs were incredible. As you were talking about, you were following him for a little bit. He was on the south side. And look at Smiley Rage. He has 11 shots fired and only 4 penetrated. Of those 11 shots, I'm sure a lot of them were supposed to be on Blue Boys. Blue Boys way too elusive for his opponent.
His driving was pretty sweet.
He's a pretty good player. Anyway, guys, we're going to go into a match point battle. We're going to find out if SIMP can close it out 5-1 or if our Noble Gaming can come back. Let's jump into the battle.
All right, looks like we've got T-32s, 2 of them, Pershing, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37. That is going to be Noble, who is now attacking. On the defense, SIMP is going to have a T-32, Pershing, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37.
All right. So very similar to what we saw before. Of course, SIMP still defending from last game. And I do feel like defending, well, in Prokhorovka, it could be pretty even, honestly.
I feel like defending adds a level of, I don't know, just requirements to your strategies, little things you have to accomplish. You have to be able to defend both your caps. You have to be able to do all of these things, or else your opponent is going to turn your advantage as a defender into a huge advantage for them. Because if they can get absolute control on a cap like we've seen before, then instead of defending now, you're attacking, but it just sucks for you.
There are definitely some key positions, maybe not on Prokhorovka nearly as much, but you can get yourself into bad situations. On cliffs, definitely, if you do not take the center, you're going to have a very hard time defending both caps. That's for certain. So yeah, I have to agree. Defending definitely has some requirements that you have to make sure you're doing beforehand, but a lot of trades, and actually SIMP is taking the worst end of this. I don't think they were expecting so many west side tanks, as there are plenty of crossfires coming in from Noble.
Oh wow, and this has been a chaotic kind of engagement. There's great vision down the 1-2 line. Crisis decides to go for that, but there is spotting in return. Fedge down by 666 hit points. But in reply, that's Crisis losing a lot. This mid-north-south engagement thing is crazy. It's hard to predict the way it's going to go. It's a lot of little things, like these T-32s playing the hull-down game right, sniped shots onto Fedge, Mac, Heavy 20, all of those guys out there. But they could stay alive. They could stay alive forever.
Yeah, they could.
They could.
It's hard, though, man. You're up against 2 T-32s, and you have a T-32 and a Pershing. We were talking about just the levels, and the Pershing slightly below the T-32. That should technically be the advantage here, but thankfully we have a couple of crossfires coming in by SIMP. These guys over here able to keep these T-32s in check. Yeah. So we're just looking to see how Noble really pushes on. Remember, they're the aggressors. They're the one that needs to push up. And I think maybe even a flag cap. No, Abrasive is over here with this.
No, it looks like that could be an option. Baronish is going to the flank, and that could be small distraction or the potential to set up kind of a trap if they feel like doing that. Baronish is going to avoid
he's going to avoid it and move forward, find out what tank is over there on the north side, and maybe Major Issue is the one that actually starts cap.
No. Major Issue, Zombie Food, Enfield, and Sovereign Zool need to bring in the support fire.
Yeah,
Kill Abrasive,
you're right.
Then the cap pressure.
That's exactly right.
Are they set up for it? You have to go and look at Enfield, Sovereign Zool, and Zombie Food. If they are looking in that direction, then that's the strategy.
They definitely are. Meanwhile, there are a couple of trades here. We see Enfield moving up a little bit too far, taking 400 damage.
There it is.
And Abrasive is going to be forced to move down, it looks like.
Yeah, he's taking hits, 700, 999.
Wow.
What? How much? One more shell, and that'll be all his hit points. He's just got 200 left. Or Baronish could go up and over.
Yeah, maybe so.
MacG goes down, though.
The Mac attack is enabled. Baronish is going to try to get these shots. He does get his first one. Can he get the second one? Nope, Enfield will take it.
Stat pattern Enfield. We have a thing.
It's okay. Still, how it looks is Noble Gaming up about, 1,600 hit points. That's a pretty sizable lead. And they're slowly encasing. Now that T-37 now is kind of free to put damage on their opponents, but also the most important thing is to start cap. Really force all these tanks on the west side to react and move.
Or you could just get the kills. I mean, at this situation, Noble is looking healthy. Yeah. They have advantage. Why not farm some damage? You're on the attack.
True.
If this goes to a tiebreaker, this is going to be a really juicy damage attack.
Man, and these T-32s very clearly doing a lot of work. They're able to clean up the T-32 and the Pershing now. Only 3 tanks remain. Looks like SIMP was able to put 1 on the board. Smiley Rage goes down, but it's just not going to be enough.
No, he kind of YOLO'd in, if you'll excuse my use of the term. Just went on in there.
I excuse you.
Okay, good.
I excuse you.
Thank you.
But when it comes down to it, it happened a while ago. Baronish with the T-37 play, I really feel like that was the key moment, obviously getting the proxy spot. It's very basic, but it's the key moment. And SIMP's decision to stay in the west side after seeing the tank lineups, a T-32 and a Pershing will not match up well against the 2 T-32s. And then on top of that, Noble is able to get some nice pot shots in the very beginning to get that HP advantage.
Yeah, they also got to posture up a little bit stronger in the middle. You saw SIMP was holding down, whereas you had the Noble guys feeling more free to push on up, and that's going to be a Noble, little bit of a comeback looking.
Yeah, 4-2, and now they're the defenders. So it's a very real situation that they come back 4-4 if they can defend well. Now, we did see them kind of misuse their defenders' advantage on steps, but Prokhorovka, definitely a very, very different map. But I will say that SIMP staying on that west side was the key thing, which is probably strategically incorrect for them, just based on the lineups.
Yeah, I would certainly agree, but I think they may be getting too comfortable. Would that be it?
It could be.
Too comfortable with their lead, thinking, you know, Noble is not playing so well, but Noble seems to be getting better with each battle. Like they're getting warmed up or feeling momentum or getting into their groove, something along those lines. But SIMP isn't necessarily playing bad. I think Noble's just putting a better fight up this time, and SIMP isn't quite rising to meet that newer level. They're expecting an opponent that was playing at Noble Battle 1 of this series, which was, let's say it, not that impressive.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely made a lot of mistakes, but we're seeing those mistakes being, kind of relegated, right? We're seeing really, really strong play coming out of Noble, and things can turn around. I really feel that. But Simp, overall, like, we saw really good attacks by them on steps. So that makes it still very, very difficult, in my opinion, to really take them, to come back in this. I mean, both of these teams have to play their A game, but Noble is on the fence. Is that on the ropes?
On the ropes? On the fence? They could be fighting.
You know why I say on the fence, right?
Why
No,
do you say on the fence?
it's because my girlfriend works at UFC now, so we watch a ton of UFC.
Oh man,
They're always up against the fence. See, it makes sense now.
I'm so
Let's step
jealous
into
of you
game,
right now.
ladies and gentlemen. Yeah,
Okay.
man. I saw the last three UFCs. It was awesome. And then I get to see Wargaming right on the what's it called?
On the mat?
On the mat, yeah, every single time because they sponsor it.
You're right. I remember that, like the BJ Penn thing.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I remember that. That was such a treat. All right, looking over the tanks, guys. T-32, 2 Pershings, 3 RU-251s, and a T-37 for Noble, who are now on the defense. On the attack, Simp will be bringing a T-32, T-69, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and MacG is going to be in that 5916. I would have thought he'd be in a T-37, but I guess not. I'll have to ask him about this one, actually.
Baronish going to proxy spot a couple of guys. Baronish takes a lot of damage in the beginning phase.
Just one shell.
Okay.
Just one.
I'm dramatic now, okay?
Okay.
A lot of damage.
Incomprehensible amounts of damage? Or
Incomprehensible.
incomprehensible? I said uncomprehensible at first.
It's okay. It's all the same to me.
Okay, good.
English is my second language. So it's cool.
No, it's not, is it?
Whatever. MacG all the way on the west side, though. He might run into a little bit of trouble if there is a push all the way up there.
And there is. Crisis moving up. I don't think Mac's going to be able to escape this one. He will not get out alive, at least from my judgment of the situation. He's going to get Crisis is going to get close enough with him, Smiley and Major. There could be some support fire that might be able to do some work here. Crisis takes 1 shell, 2. The autoloader on MacG's tank, able to do 357 before he goes down. But now we're looking at a huge
there might be a commitment, though. Adrox is taking a ton of damage, down to just 1 shot away, but he will go down. But Anfield also in that T-32. That's a big tank to be losing early on, and it looks like they are going to lose him, while the 3 light tanks are all the way down in the southwest corner. There needs to be convergence by Noble, and will they get there in time? That's the big question. Fedge does offer that extra lane of crossfire too, all the way from the north side, but this might be a really tough situation because there's only 4 tanks in the center here, and as they back up, they're prone to being, obliterated.
Yeah, Simp is not in the advantageous position. Crisis has the high ground, moving on in. Smiley moving on in, and that's going to be an overmatch. You've got more tanks from Noble, very simply, up against the less tanks of Simp. Now it's about the focus fires and their handling of the situation, but hit points-wise, damage-wise, you've got a huge advantage from Noble, and they're going to take this one, getting a little bit of momentum there, but there is still fight left in Simp.
Yeah. You did see a very different type of fighting style too. They kept running past, kept the acceleration going. I love that, and just swarmed their opponents. The T-32s could not deal with them, and Heavy 20, the last remaining tank to stand for Simp. Simp, man, they made just 1 mistake, and down all of them went. I mean, Noble Gaming, this is why I really think they're going to do super well this season.
Yeah, and wow, up and over major issues on the Heavy 20. That's nice. Noble does it again.
Yep.
All right.
3-4, ladies and gentlemen. It's very easy to come back here in this situation. The defenders, once again, it's a slight edge, I would say. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but anecdotally speaking and just theoretically speaking, I would say it's like probably a 55 to 60% advantage, 60-40, something like that.
Really?
Yeah, that's sizable. That's sizable.
That's quite an advantage. Now, I have an update. It looks like between Simple Tankers and Cunningham's, we have Cunningham's 4 with Simple Tankers 2 as it stands right now. It's Cunningham's 1 more battle for them, and they will win, which is, I believe, bit of the expected result.
Anything can happen, though, because if we're at 4-2, that means they're switching sides. So attacker becomes defender and vice versa. So it could be a situation where they, too, go 4-4, as we've seen in the past. And even in this series, we could go 4-4. Very, very exciting stuff.
We're looking at possibly 2 matches happening simultaneously, which I must see. I must see Simple Takers Cunningham because that looks like it's going to be a close match. And then right now, the Simp Noble, the way it's looking, I want to go back and review this tomorrow because at the beginning of this series, Noble did not look very in a good spot. They looked weaker. They looked less coordinated. All these things that we'd been saying about them.
Now they look amazing, to be honest. They look top caliber in the league. And I did want to go into like what exactly went wrong for Simp, but we've already started battle number 8, so let's get into that. Battle number 8 on Prokhorovka.
All right, looking at the tanks, T-32, Pershing, another one, and 3 RU-251s with a T-37 for Noble. On the other side, Simp, T-32, T-69, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and a 5916. So, not sure with Mac in that 5916. I guess he likes the burst that it has. Aside from that,
could be the profile. He just likes to stay alive a little bit longer.
Maybe, but it didn't seem to keep him alive much longer when he was spotting the 1-2.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. Yeah. Mac a lot of times does that, though. He goes out by himself, which, again, he's doing the same thing. Going out by himself and just trying to see what's happening. You know, try to be that spot permanently. And we have very similar starting movements from both these teams. Blue Boys captain moving over, Baronish moving up, trying to proxy spot, see what's going on. Yeah, it's the same exact movements, honestly.
Yeah, just about. Although you can see the way Simp's tanks are moving off to the east a little bit stronger. This is less of that north-south, and it might turn into some kind of strange east-west.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, the hard part is getting the T-32, and more importantly, the T-69 over the hill. Like, how do you do that safely, right?
Yeah. You've got that. Now we've got the same situation as last battle. Mac G against Major Shoes Crisis and Smiley. Will he try to escape this time, or will there be a response from Simp?
We do have a slight turn, too. Fedge did go to the north side. Now this time Abrasive has gone to the north side, and Baronish is the one to just watch out and see what's going on. T-32 might get pushed on Heavy 20, sees his opening, and there's a lot of shots being fired, but the T-32 is actually holding up pretty well here.
Yeah, a lot of bounces onto this. This could allow for Noble to come back. The bounces are insane.
Yeah.
Now, Enfield goes down, but so does Mac G. That's off in the 1 line, and the response coming from Crisis and Major Issues along with Smiley. They will be able to rejoin the team, but the advantage right now, hit points-wise, goes to Simp. They have the lead, and Abrasive has taken out Baronish up in the north, allowing for a little bit more control.
Yeah, this is actually very scary right now for Noble, as they've lost a pretty valuable tank. They were able to pepper a lot of the red tanks of Simp, but it just wasn't enough after Sovereign Zool lost a lot. Now Fedge coming around with the flank. Oh, missed his shot on Sovereign Zool. It's going to be very difficult still because that is a Pershing.
Oh, wow. Smiley's going way in. He is very aggressive right now, approaching Adroxis and the T-69 with Heavy 20 just as close as he is between Blue Boys and him. I'm not confident in Smiley's ability to stay alive. And there he goes down. Blue Boy's getting that one follow-up.
And yeah, and Crisis also actually rammed into him, unfortunately, and goes down immediately. It looks like Noble Gaming, only 2 tanks left. Zombie Food completely segmented from Major Issue, and both of them go down pretty much simultaneously. Simp will take battle number 8, putting them 5-3. A very, very spirited comeback by Noble, but it looks like Simp just too strong in their overall engagements.
Yeah, they really were. I got to give it to Noble. That was probably the best that we could expect from them. Just about. Realistically.
Yeah.
We can talk about how the potential is there for them to beat Simp, but really I think we're talking about a little bit more than we should be realistic with. Yeah. If we're being brutally realistic, probably this.
If we're talking about also, this is only week number 2. I mean, think how much these teams are going to learn when we hit week number 4, right? Like, it's pretty sizable, and the level of play from week 1 to week 2 has increased. It's not like super, super huge, but it definitely has increased. We've seen a lot better plays come out of these teams, and we've seen just a lot better execution, I would say, coming out of Simp for sure.
Definitely, and we've seen now a team actually kind of stand up to them, give them a really good fight, show everyone that yes, there is the potential for SIMP to make mistakes. They still don't know this quite as well as they knew 742, and that's not maybe an insult against SIMP. That's just everyone is learning this, everyone is getting used to it and discovering the meta. SIMP is ahead, but they're not at such a lead that no one else is going to be able to keep up with their ability to innovate and execute upon their strategies.
Yeah. And just a quick update with the Cunningham match. It looks like Cunningham's will take it 5-2 over Simple Tankers. So I would actually love to see the replays of that because it sounded very, very nitty and gritty type of deal.
You can get those on the fantasy site, by the way. We send those over, and they're usually hosted up there along with all the stats from every match. So like individual battle stuff. We throw that over to the
I'll have to.
Yeah.
Maybe we can watch it together over like a movie and popcorn.
Yeah.
Well, that will be our movie. We'll just do it over popcorn.
like hot cocoa because it's cold outside.
Sounds great, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those were our matches for today. We had 4 in total. Let's take a look and see how everything panned out. We had RBIS, unfortunately, lose 5-1 against Top Tier. Fun Gaming, though. That was the big surprise, I would say, of the day.
Yeah, against Elevate, taking that 5-4, and then Roulette, Victoria's Secret, that 5-0. While not super surprising, I thought Victoria's Secret would be able to take off at least one. I thought that would be there. Now, and then SIMP versus Noble, the one you guys just saw. SIMP, great, phenomenal team, bringing it up there. Noble, not quite there. And then, of course, we have right now the off-broadcast matches. I Love Lamp beats Penguin Mafia 5-1.
Pretty decisive there, I would say. 5-1, I mean, for any team. But we'll definitely see them next time around. Full Potato drops 2-5 to Hammer Time. Hammer Time looking really nice. That's why I say, never go Full Potato, man. Simply Irresistible is able to take out Timed Out by 5-1, and the Cunninghams will take out Simple Tankers 5-2, as we just said before. We also have more matches if you don't have enough WGLNA action coming up on Thursday. Let's take a look very quickly at that. Of course, it starts at 5 p.m. PST. We have the Cunninghams versus Simply Irresistible, Full Potato versus Penguin Mafia, Timed Out versus Hammer Time, and last but not least, I Love Lamp versus Simple Tankers. Randall, of those, which one are you most looking forward to?
I Love Lamp, Simple Tankers, because I do want to see some more I Love Lamp. I don't have a good grasp of their full capabilities, and then I think Simple Tankers tends to give the best match in any one series. Last season, I'd say everyone's best match could have been given to them versus Simple Tankers.
Yeah.
And if Simple Tankers keeps that trend up, we'll have incredible matches yet again, them versus anyone.
Well, I encourage you guys to jot it down on your schedules and be here 5 p.m. PST. Clutch will also be returning back. I will sadly have to go back to Las Vegas, although it's been a great time with you. We want to thank you guys also for participating with us on our social media. Don't forget you can tweet at us or Facebook us, anything like that. Facebook.com/WGLNA, Twitter.com/WGLNA. And don't forget to hit that favorite button, the follow button here on Twitch, as you can get a notification every single time that we go live. But that's going to wrap up the day for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in from the casters here and everybody in production. We bid you guys adieu, and we'll catch you next time.